Major announcement from Pfizer about its vaccine trials. The company says signs are pointing to a big breakthrough in the fight against coronavirus.
President-elect Joe Biden putting together a team to address the pandemic, how he may reportedly approach mask mandates across the country.
And one candidate clearing the way for their opponent to become San Diego's next mayor. ABC 10 News at 11 starts right now.
ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
We start with breaking news. One major local race getting some clarity this morning. I'm Virginia Cha.
And I'm Jim Patton. Mayoral candidate Barbara Bree conceding the race to fellow candidate Todd Gloria. Bree had been holding off on conceding in hopes that the ballots yet to be counted may help her overcome a nearly 12-point margin. But in the last 30 minutes, she said that she has spoken with Gloria and offered her congratulations.
I know that he loves San Diego, the city where he was born. As I reflect on the campaign, I wish every San Diegan could have shared the experiences I've had over the past year and more, talking to thousands of San Diegans about their aspirations and their concerns. They would come away with the same feelings I have, that most residents want a professionally managed city government that provides high quality, basic services equitably to every neighborhood.
Now, Gloria will become San Diego's first mayor of color and openly gay mayor. We're still waiting on a statement from his office.
And this big news, Pfizer releasing some very promising news about its coronavirus vaccine this morning, saying it could be up to 90% effective against the virus. That announcement, a boost for public confidence and the stock market. We're going to get to that in a moment. But first, ABC 10 News anchor Mary McKenzie has the response from one local vaccine researcher and what this news likely signals about other clinical trials.
First reaction was some skepticism because 2020 has been like 100 years long.
Dr. Shane Crotty is a vaccine scientist with the La Jolla Institute for Immunology. Like the rest of us, he woke up to Pfizer's big announcement about its vaccine, right now in phase 3 clinical trials. He says his skepticism was won over quickly.
And as soon as I read their paragraph on the actual numbers,
demonstrating as high as a 90% efficacy rate over 94 cases, Crotty says that's good news, really good news on a number of fronts. For the pandemic, for public health in general, for science, and specifically for vaccine development going forward.
To be able to go within the same calendar year, from nothing to a 90% efficacy signal in a phase 3 clinical trial.
As for what's next and when we might likely see massive rollout, Pfizer has said by the end of the year, it'll have manufactured enough doses to immunize 15 to 20 million people. The efficacy announced today, then safety data and manufacturing are the 3 requirements necessary for Pfizer to file for emergency use authorization with the FDA. So yes, it will be some time, perhaps a year even, before there are enough doses administered to the general public for there to be a real return to anything resembling normal. But today, he says, was a big step in the right direction and expects more steps to follow, more trials to be close to announcing similar news in the next month or two. He acknowledges there will also have to be real inroads made in boosting the public's confidence so enough people are willing to take that vaccine. Mary McKenzie, ABC 10 News.
And you won't be surprised to hear that not only is Pfizer stock way up, but it is pulling up the rest of the market. Let's take a look at the Dow, and you can see it is up more than 1,300 points, closing in on the 5% mark, which it passed earlier this morning. S&P up almost 3%. Now, coming up at 11:30, we're going to talk to a financial expert about how Pfizer's announcement may be affecting other company stocks, including one here in San Diego.
And this morning, President-elect Joe Biden taking his first steps toward transitioning into the Oval Office. Biden this morning laying the groundwork for his approach to the coronavirus. More on that in a moment as he pieces together a transition team, though President Trump refusing to concede the election. ABC's Alex Brachet has more.
After a historic victory,
this is the time to heal in America.
That shattered glass ceilings.
While I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last.
This morning, the Biden-Harris team not waiting until Inauguration Day, moving forward in tackling the coronavirus pandemic. The president-elect naming his own task force to fight the virus. Former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, former FDA Commissioner David Kessler, and Dr. Marcella Nunez-Smith of Yale University will lead the group. Also on the board, vaccine expert Dr. Rick Bright, the whistleblower who alleges he was reassigned by the Trump administration after resisting political pressures to support hydroxychloroquine as a COVID-19 treatment. Looking ahead, his team unveiled its official transition website, buildbackbetter.com, outlining issues he says he'll tackle on day one. Meanwhile, President Trump is still refusing to acknowledge he lost, vowing to continue filing long-shot legal challenges, almost all of which have been tossed out. Releasing a campaign statement saying only this election is far from over, the Trump team and their supporters making baseless claims of voter fraud without providing evidence. Most elected Republicans not congratulating Biden as president-elect, and some top Republicans backing Trump's refusal to accept the results.
I believe President Trump still has a path to victory.
Do not concede, Mr. President. Fight hard.
The president is expected to file more legal challenges today. Meanwhile, we're still waiting for vote counts to be completed in a few states: Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona. Alex Perche, ABC News, Wilmington, Delaware.
And just into the ABC 10 News Live Center, we are getting more specific details about the president-elect's plan to fight COVID on his website, buildbackbetter.com, focusing on 4 things. I want to run these through for you, and you will see, first, doubling the number of drive-through testing sites, making testing easier for Americans. When it comes to PPE, wanting to use the Defense Production Act to ramp up the production of masks and face shields and get them to healthcare workers who need them so badly. When it comes to vaccines, how about this number? Invest $25 billion into vaccine manufacturing and make sure that Americans get them right there, cost-free. And then masks. The vice president talked a lot about masks and discussed all of his plans to, yes, make them mandatory. Come in and look at this here. He wants every American to wear a mask when they're around people outside of their household, and also he wants governors to make that mandatory in their states. He talked a lot about masks, spent most of his time speaking today reinforcing the idea that wearing a mask is the best way to fight the pandemic.
The goal is to get back to normal as fast as possible. And masks are critical in doing that. It won't be forever, but that's how we'll get our nation back.
The other thing that the vice president stressed was that his administration will listen to the science when it comes to fighting this pandemic, and that the science may change. They will adjust accordingly. In the Live Center, Jared Aarons, ABC 10 News.
Jared, thank you. And just within the last hour, the president firing the Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper. The president tapping Christopher Miller, the head of the National Counterterrorism Center, as Esper's replacement. Multiple outlets reporting Esper was anticipating an exit soon and even penned a resignation letter in recent weeks. Esper publicly criticized the president over the summer for the decision to use troops to respond to unrest across the country. Trump this morning, though, thanking him for his service. Unclear, with Biden poised to take over the Oval Office, what will happen with the position over the next couple of months.
And this is new today. Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson testing positive for the coronavirus. His office announced the news this morning, just days after news of several other White House staffers and officials, including Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, testing positive as well. Both Carson and Meadows attended the president's election party last week. This morning, no details about Carson's condition, but his office says he is in, quote, good spirits. Just one day before oral arguments are set to begin before the U.S. Supreme Court on the Affordable Care Act, California is pushing to get people more access to health care. ABC 10 News reporter Marie Cornell shows us how the pandemic is bringing the need for better health care coverage to light.
Since the Affordable Care Act was adopted, California has gotten more than 1.5 million people health care that didn't have it. But now health officials say this pandemic has shed light on how expensive health care can be.
All of us do better when we have insurance coverage.
During a virtual news conference, covered California officials kicked off their open enrollment efforts, pushing people to find out if they qualify to have the government help pay for their health insurance. Lessons learned as people navigate through the coronavirus pandemic.
Those who are hospitalized because of COVID and do not have health insurance or the special cost-sharing protections that have been put in place for COVID could walk out with very large bills. This fact puts a spotlight on the high cost of healthcare, which is why everyone should have health insurance.
Health officials say COVID-19 has also pointed out racial inequities. In California, they say Latinos make up 40% of the population. And in terms of COVID-19, 50% of the cases are Latinos, adding 60% of the COVID-related deaths are people from Latino background. Their research also found that African Americans have a 50% higher chance of getting COVID-19 than a white person, something they hope to change by getting people to sign up for Covered California.
These are people's lives. This is a matter of life, death. They're not statistics, these are stories. These are not numbers, these are narratives of real people who struggle to protect themselves.
Covered California officials are urging people to sign up and see if they qualify by December 15th. So if it is approved, it will become effective by January 1st. Reporting outside the county admin building, Marie Cornell, ABC 10 News.